The morning light filtered through the windows of Maple Diner, casting long shadows across the checkered floor. Alexander Alex Carter stood by the window, gazing out at the fishing boats dotting Portland's harbor. His weathered hands traced the outline of the silver band he still wore 3 years after Robert's passing. The sea had given him the greatest love of his life, then cruelly taken him away in a winter storm that left 17 Portland fishermen missing. Only 16 bodies recovered. At 42, Alex had mastered the art of carrying grief without drowning in it. He turned from the window, surveying the diner he'd called home for nearly 18 years. The worn vinyl booths had witnessed his entire love story. First date with Robert in booth 7, proposal over blueberry pancakes, late-night conversations about adoption. Now they bore silent witness to his life as a gay single father in a coastal Maine town where acceptance came in tides, sometimes warm, sometimes frigid. "You're doing that thing again," Tyler said quietly, setting down menus. At 19, the boy's eyes carried shadows too deep for his age. 3 months ago, Alex had found him sleeping in his car behind the diner, disowned by parents who couldn't reconcile their son's sexuality with their faith. Now Tyler occupied the small room above Alex's garage, working shifts between community college classes. "Just remembering," Alex replied, his gentle Maine accent softening his words. The morning rush would begin soon. Fishermen coming off night shifts, office workers grabbing coffee, the predictable rhythm that kept him anchored when grief threatened to pull him under. Alex had learned to navigate this small town with careful dignity. The same people who whispered behind his back about the gay diner owner also came to him for comfort when their own lives fractured. Robert had always said that was Alex's superpower, the ability to make people feel seen even when they refused to truly see him. The bell above the door chimed, and Alex looked up to see an unfamiliar face. A tall man in an expensive suit, his hand resting protectively on the shoulder of a small boy. Something in the man's eyes, exhaustion, uncertainty, devotion, resonated with Alex immediately. The boy rocked slightly, hands covering his ears against the clattering dishes, his distress evident in the tight set of his small shoulders. For the extraordinary stories that unfold in ordinary places, follow hard stories, because sometimes the most powerful acts of courage happen not on battlefields, but in diners, between strangers who recognize something of themselves in each other. Jackson Reynolds guided Daniel to the corner booth, his movements betraying the awkward tenderness of someone still learning to navigate fatherhood. Their matching stubborn chins revealed their connection, but Jackson's confident posture contrasted sharply with Daniel's withdrawn demeanor. He placed a small, weighted blanket over the boy's shoulders, a practiced routine that spoke volumes about their morning struggles. 3 months ago, Jackson wouldn't have known how to handle this situation. His life had revolved around boardrooms and investments portfolios, not sensory processing issues and meltdowns. But when his younger brother Michael took his own life after years of depression, deepened by family rejection of his sexuality, Jackson had become Daniel's sole guardian. The transition from uncle to father happened overnight, forcing him to confront not only his grief, but also his past failures. Alex approached with careful steps, intuitively lowering his voice. "Welcome to Maple Diner. Can I start you gentlemen with something to drink?" "Coffee, please, black," Jackson said. He hesitated, glancing at Daniel, who continued rocking. "And for my son, do you have anything plain? No sauces or seasonings." The question came with the weariness of someone who had faced rejection for such requests before. "How about golden pancakes, nothing on them, with maple syrup in a separate cup," Alex suggested, addressing Daniel directly, though the boy hadn't looked up. "You can use as much or as little as you like." Something in his tone made Daniel peek up through his lashes. As Alex turned to place their order, he overheard Jackson murmuring, "Daniel, I need to take this call. It's about the Peterson deal." His phone buzzed insistently, urgent, flashing across the screen. "Outside." Jackson paced the sidewalk, one hand pressed to his ear. Through the window, Alex watched the man's free hand running through his hair in frustration. his gaze repeatedly darting back to Daniel. That's when the trouble started. A group of construction workers at the next table began making comments about Daniel's humming. "What's wrong with that kid?" one muttered. "Can't he sit still like a normal person?" Daniel's rocking intensified, and his careful arrangement of sugar packets scattered as his hands began to shake. Tyler froze near their table, coffee pot trembling slightly in his hand. His eyes met Alex's, a silent communication between two souls who understood what it meant to be deemed different. But where Tyler retreated, memories of his own tormentors still fresh, Alex advanced. Standing before the construction workers, Alex didn't raise his voice. His decades of navigating homophobia had taught him that quiet strength carried more power than shouting ever could. "That young man," he said, nodding toward Daniel, "is having a tough morning. I'm sure you remember what it felt like to be overwhelmed when you were his age." The youngest worker glanced away, shamefaced. "My brother's like him," he admitted softly. "Autism? People can be real jerks about it." Alex sees the opening. "Then you understand. Different isn't wrong, it's just different." Outside, Jackson concluded his call, unaware of the scene unfolding inside. As he turned toward the diner, a sleek town car pulled up, and a woman in an impeccable suit emerged, Vanessa Klein, his executive assistant. Her lips pursed as she spotted Daniel through the window. Sometimes courage isn't a grand declaration, but a quiet intervention. Not with righteous anger, but with the steady certainty that every person deserves dignity, especially those the world too easily dismisses as broken, when they're simply extraordinary in ways others haven't learned to see. "Jackson, the board's waiting." "We need to go now," Vanessa said, her voice carrying an edge, the same tone she'd used during their brief relationship before Jackson's brother died. "The Peterson merger is hanging by a thread, and you're playing daddy to your brothers." "Careful," Jackson warned, his voice dangerously quiet. "Daniel is my son now. I made a promise to Michael before his voice broke. Michael's suicide after years of depression and rejection for his sexuality still haunted Jackson, especially the memory of his own initial discomfort with his brother's coming out. "Your brother made his choices," Vanessa said dismissively. "He wasn't strong enough to handle life's challenges, and now you're throwing away everything we've built because of guilt." Inside, Daniel had begun to rock more intensely, hands flapping anxiously as the construction workers' conversation grew louder. Alex approached, crouching to meet the boy's eyes. "Hey there, he said gently. "I have a son too, Nathan. He's 15 now, but when he was your age, he found some things overwhelming too." Daniel's rocking slowed fractionally. "Different brain?" he asked, his voice soft but clear. "Yes." Alex smiled. "ADHD. He processes things differently, just like you do." "Dad says I'm not broken, just extraordinary," Daniel murmured. "But sometimes it hurts to be extraordinary." The simple honesty in those words squeezed Alex's heart. "I know," he said. "My son used to say the same thing. So did Tyler over there." He nodded toward the young waiter. "He's extraordinary too, but in a different way." Daniel glanced at Tyler, curiosity momentarily overriding his anxiety. "How is he extraordinary?" "He has incredible courage," Alex said. "He stays true to who he is, even when people try to tell him he's wrong for loving who he loves." Daniel considered this seriously. "Because he's gay, like Uncle Michael was." The door chimed as Jackson returned with Vanessa trailing behind him. One glance at Daniel engaged in conversation with Alex stopped them both short. "What's happening?" Jackson asked, his voice betraying both hope and disbelief. "Your son was upset by some unkind comments," Alex explained, straightening. "We were just having a chat about different ways of experiencing the world." Before he could respond, Vanessa stepped forward. "How sweet. Now, if you'll excuse us, Mr. Reynolds has actual responsibilities waiting." She glanced pointedly at her watch. "The board won't tolerate another cancellation, especially for this." The dismissive wave toward Daniel broke something in Jackson. "This," he said, voice dangerously low. is my son, and I'm starting to realize I've been prioritizing the wrong things." Vanessa's laugh was brittle. "You can't be serious. You've spent 15 years building Harrison Technologies. Are you really going to throw that away for a child who isn't even... Family isn't defined by blood." Alex interrupted quietly. "It's defined by who you choose to love, protect, and put first." Something in his words reached Jackson. He turned to Vanessa, straightening his shoulders. "You're fired." The silence that followed was broken by a small sound from Daniel. Not distress, but something closer to relief. Then, astonishingly, he reached for Alex's hand. The simple gesture, remarkable for a child who typically avoided touch, spoke volumes. I don't know how to thank you," Jackson said, watching Daniel's unprecedented interaction with wonder. Alex shook his head. "No need. I understand what it's like to be different in a world that demands conformity." That night, Alex sat at the diner's counter, bills spread before him. The second mortgage he'd taken out to keep the place open during COVID was becoming impossible to maintain. 3 more months, and he'd lose everything. Not just his business, but his home above the diner where he'd raised Nathan, where every wall held memories of Robert. What Alex couldn't possibly know was that Jackson Reynolds sat in his mansion that same evening, thinking about a silver-banded diner owner whose kindness had awakened something long dormant inside of him, something that felt dangerously close to hope. 3 months passed before the bell above Maple Diner's door chimed and Daniel burst through, face alight with excitement. "Alex," he called out, a dramatic change from the silent child who had first entered. Behind him, Jackson followed with a relaxed smile. Gone was the formal suit, replaced by casual jeans and a soft button-down. "We went to California," Daniel announced proudly. "Dad had to fix his company, and I got to see the ocean every day." "The restructuring took longer than expected," Jackson explained, that corporate precision still present in his voice, but softened now by something gentler. "But we couldn't stay away forever." The diner had changed little in their absence, but Alex noticed immediately how much Daniel had transformed. The boy still carried the markers of autism, but now he moved with a confidence that hadn't been there before, his voice clear and steady. "Nathan taught me guitar," Daniel said, referring to Alex's son, whom he'd met during their visits before the California trip. "I can play 3 chords now, and I started a club at my new school." "A club?" Alex raised his eyebrows, leading them to their usual corner booth. "The Extraordinary Club," Daniel said proudly. "For kids who think differently. We meet at lunch on Tuesdays. There are 7 of us now." Jackson watched his son with undisguised pride. Daniel's idea entirely. The school counselor said it's been revolutionary for some of the other children who used to eat alone. As Tyler approached with coffee, Jackson's expression shifted to something more serious. "Tyler, I have something for you." He pulled an envelope from his jacket. "The admissions office at Boston University confirmed your scholarship. Full ride, including housing and a stipend for books." Tyler's hands trembled as he took the envelope. "I don't understand." "Dad made some calls," Daniel explained matter-of-factly. "He said your essay about resilience was the best they had ever read." "I have connections on the board," Jackson said, waving away Tyler's stunned gratitude. "But it was your story that he won them over. Not everyone survives what you've been through and still shows us such compassion for others." Alex watched this exchange with his heart in his throat. When Tyler had first arrived, sleeping in his car, working for meals, terrified of his parents tracking him down, Alex had never imagined this outcome. "There's more," Jackson said, turning to Alex. "I've been busy these past months with more than just corporate restructuring." Alex tensed slightly. During their visits before the California trip, he and Jackson had developed a tentative friendship, united by their love for their sons and their experiences as single fathers. But there had been moments, lingering glances, conversations that stretched late into the night after Daniel was asleep, that hinted at something more. I bought the building, Jackson said simply. Alex blinked. This building, my diner. The entire block. Actually, okay. Jackson leaned forward. The realtor said the bank was 3 months away from foreclosure. I couldn't let that happen. So you're my landlord now, Alex said, a complicated mix of emotions crossing his face. No. Jackson shook his head. I'm your business partner, if you'll have me, but that's not all. He glanced at Daniel, who was practically vibrating with excitement. Show him, Danny. Daniel pulled a large rolled paper from his backpack, spreading it on the table. It was an architectural rendering of the diner, but expanded. The vacant storefronts incorporated into a larger structure. The upstairs renovated. A new sign above it all, the Extraordinary Center. It's for kids like me, Daniel explained, his finger tracing the colorful design. And for teenagers like Tyler, who need somewhere safe. The diner stays exactly the same, but upstairs becomes apartments for LGBTQ youth who don't have homes, and next door becomes a community center. We need a director, Jackson said quietly. Someone who understands both worlds, raising children with special needs and navigating life as a gay man in communities that aren't always accepting. Why me? Alex finally asked, looking up from the plans. You barely know me. Jackson's smile was gentle. Because in 30 seconds, you saw my son when I'd spent months only seeing his diagnosis. Because you stood up when standing up cost something. The grand opening of the Extraordinary Center drew a crowd that spilled onto the sidewalk. The building, once faded and forgettable, now stood vibrant against the Maine sky, its freshly painted exterior in shades of blue and green that echoed the nearby ocean. Above the original Maple Diner sign, a new one gleamed, the Extraordinary Center, where different is celebrated. Inside, the diner remained largely unchanged, the same checkered floor, the same vinyl booths, but it now opened into additional spaces, a sensory-friendly play area, meeting rooms for support groups, and a resource library. Upstairs, the apartments had been renovated to house young people like Tyler who needed safe homes. Are you ready? Jackson appeared beside Alex, their shoulders almost touching. In the months since their partnership began, their relationship had evolved in careful, deliberate steps. Movie nights with the boys, private dinners after the diner closed, conversations that stretched until dawn. I'm terrified, Alex admitted. What if I can't do this? What if I let them all down? Jackson's hand found his, a brief, reassuring touch. You won't. You've been doing this work your whole life, creating safe spaces, seeing people for who they truly are. Now you just have a bigger platform. As if on cue, Daniel bounded up, dragging Nathan and Tyler behind him. At 8, Daniel still had moments of overwhelm, but they were fewer now, tempered by growing confidence in a father who had learned to advocate fiercely for his needs. Come see the mural, Daniel grabbed Alex's hand without hesitation, a far cry from the boy who had once flinched at unexpected touch. He led them through the crowd to the center's main hall where a massive wall painting stretched floor to ceiling. Alex's breath caught. The mural depicted dozens of figures, children with sensory headphones, teenagers with rainbow flags, adults in wheelchairs, all painted in vibrant colors against a background of swirling stars. In the corner, unmistakably, was a figure with angel wings that looked remarkably like Robert. Daniel designed it, Jackson explained, watching Alex's emotional reaction. The community art program helped bring it to life. Papa Robert watches over everyone, Daniel said matter-of-factly, pointing to the angel figure. That's what extraordinary people do. They protect others even when they're gone. Alex swallowed hard, unable to speak. The image of Robert as guardian angel was so perfectly, painfully right that it took his breath away. That evening, after the festivities ended and the center quieted, Alex found himself alone on the roof deck overlooking the harbor. The same fishing boats that had taken Robert still dotted the water, their lights twinkling against the darkening sky. But the ache of loss had transformed over time into something gentler, a companion rather than an enemy. He heard footsteps behind him and turned to find Jackson approaching, 2 mugs of coffee in hand. "The boys are setting up a movie downstairs," Jackson said, passing a mug to Alex. They stood in comfortable silence, shoulders touching as they gazed out at the harbor. Finally, Jackson spoke. "I think I'm falling in love with you," he said quietly. "I should probably tell you that before I lose my nerve." Alex's heart stuttered. After Robert died, he had sealed off that part of himself, convinced that one great love was all the universe allotted any person. Opening himself to the possibility of another felt like stepping off a cliff. Without knowing if the tide was in, "It's not that I'm not ready," Alex said, finding his voice. "It's just, I never expected to feel this way again. It scares me how much I want this, how much I want you and Daniel in our lives." "Papa Robert sent you to us," came Daniel's voice from the doorway. He stood there with Nathan beside him, both boys watching their fathers with knowing eyes. "He knew you were alone too." The simple certainty in the boy's voice broke something open in Alex's chest. Perhaps love wasn't a finite resource, but an expanding universe, large enough to hold both what was lost and what might yet be found. "To extraordinary beginnings," Jackson murmured, his fingers intertwining with Alex's. Have you ever encountered someone who changed the direction of your life with a simple act of kindness or understanding? How might we all become the extraordinary protectors for those who need someone to see them, exactly as they are? Share your story in the comments and subscribe to Heart Stories for more powerful tales of courage, connection, and the families we choose rather than the ones we're born into.